I'm Sean from Short and Sweet, and welcome to the first video that's part of our Photoshop Retouching series. So with the retouching process, there's quite a number of steps that you can incorporate into your workflow, and it just depends on the quality of the original image, the lighting conditions, in terms of what you'll need to do to the image to enhance it. We're always trying to work in a non-destructive workflow, so a lot of the methods that we'll be showing throughout the series are ways that we can still retain the integrity of the original pixels without destroying them. That means we can always go back and there's no issue with recovering what was there in the original image. It's a great workflow to work in a non-destructive way. So when we're working through these techniques, we want to also make sure that we're in the right workspace. Probably the photography workspace is a good one. So if I come up to my workspaces up here in the top right corner, you can see that I've got my photography available there. I'll just reset it actually, so I've put all the panels back into the right spot. The great thing about the photography workspace is that you've got your layers panel sitting there, and you've also got easy access to things like your adjustments layer and their properties. So within this particular image that we'll be working on throughout the series, we can have a look at some of the things that have been done to this image. So we can see we've got a number of layers here that we can turn off at any point. So we've got an unsharp mask layer that has been applied above all of the layers, which has just helped to add a little bit of extra detail to the image. So you can see turning that on and off, the effect that has had. Another thing that we've done to the image is we've added a color grade that just gives a particular look or feel to the image. And I can turn that off to see how that's affecting it. That color grade basically adds coolness into the shadows and then warmth into the highlights and midtones. So that's like more of a stylized way of approaching retouching by color grading. And then underneath that, we've got our skin mapping. So this has helped to neutralize the skin. If I turn that off, we can see the skin's maybe a little bit red in some areas, maybe a little bit green down here. And by adding a gradient map, we're able to neutralize the skin. With a lot of these effects as well, we can see up here in the layers panel, the opacity can also be brought down for any of these effects if they're too intense. If I take, for example, the gradient mapping up to 100%, you can see what it looks like there at 100%, and then we've just pulled it back to have some of the original color come through there. We'll turn that one off. And so then we've got our eyes. This is just being used to enhance the eyes, add a little bit of highlight to the bottom of the eyes there, and just make them stand out that little bit more. Turn that one off. And then we've also got our dodging and burning. So that can be used to add our shadows, increase the shadows, increase the highlights, add more dynamic range, or do the opposite if you wanted to actually pull the shadows up and make them brighter, or with the highlights, if you wanted to neutralize them a bit more to darken them, we can use dodging and burning to do that. Then we've got frequency separation. So frequency separation is a great way to smooth out the skin if there's inconsistencies in the lighting and that sort of thing, without actually losing the texture of the skin. So we don't want to end up with skin that looks like it's been photoshopped and looks too plastic and flat. We always want to retain texture. And so frequency separation is a great way to do that. Now with our frequency separation and the eyes and cloning, we can see that we've created groups of folders within there, because usually there's a few layers that happen within those actions. So we can just create our groups to work within those. So we'll turn that one off. And then finally, there was just the cloning layer here. Now with the cloning layer, that has been used just to hide any spots and pimples and that sort of thing. Again, using it in a non-destructive way so we don't end up permanently changing the image, and not going too overboard with it as well. We still want to retain that original texture. So yeah, we can see that this is the original image here. And if I come back in and just turn all those layers back on again, drag over the top of those, we can see that's where we end up. I might turn off the unsharp mask and the color grade for the moment, and just have a look at the image without those effects on the top, because you may find that the color grading is not necessarily what you want to do to your images. It's just, again, one of those looks that you can achieve through the use of gradient maps. All right, so we'll get started onto the next video where we'll look at just enhancing the image a little bit before we then go in and start cloning and start the retouching process.